Hello and welcome to the Boston Tea Party podcast, where two Brits and a Yank talk about absolute nonsense. My name is VintrBjorn, or Bjorn for short. I'm one of your hosts. Our other host is the fabulous them boy Cinnamon. How you doing, Cinna?
Bonk Joe, I'm doing good. How are you doing, VintrBjorn?
I'm doing pretty great. And our next host is the fabulous and amazing up-and-coming hip-hop artist known as Little Swifty. How you doing, Swifty?
What's up, guys? I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Like I said, I'm doing pretty good. Today we're going to talk about what it was like for us just growing up, like technology-wise, pop culture-wise, because we got two generations and a middle generation here, because I'm a millennial. Like I was born 1992. We got Cinnamon, who's in their mid-20s, and we've got Swifty, who's the Gen Z of the group, who's in his early 20s. So this ought to be fun.
You don't have to point the Gen Z bit out, damn.
VintrBjorn is a millennial, Swifty's Gen Z, and then there's me, Zennial.
Yeah, you're like you're one of the cuspers.
Like, I can be classed as a millennial or I can be classed as Gen Z. It just depends.
Yeah.
I just don't have an argument. Gen Z sucks.
As the old man of the group, my earliest memory of technology was definitely dial-up, and that infamous fucking dial tone sound every time you wanted to start the internet. And my God, anytime I wanted to go onto any kind of website, it was fucking 15-20 minutes of loading.
Yeah, well, I didn't have internet until like 2006, 2007, but I had family members who had dial-up, and I can remember dial-up.
Yeah, dial-up was not fun.
I have sort of memories I could dial up. I remember people having it, but I never had it. We went straight to broadband.
I can remember the man of the house kicking off whenever anyone would pick up the phone while he's trying to download something.
Right.
Ooh, I didn't have to suffer through that, thankfully, but I can imagine that being annoying, like how many people use the phone. But back then, anyway, because mobiles weren't as big.
Yep.
I know you guys didn't have this is on the same topic of like the internet in the 90s, but I know you guys are British, so you had a form of Cartoon Network, but you didn't had Cartoon Network shows, but you didn't have Cartoon Network, right?
It was called Cartoon Network, but it wasn't anything like American Cartoon Network.
Oh, okay.
It was a sort of shortened version, so it was cut down. It was only a couple of shows that could get licensed for over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm only say this because I remember going onto the Cartoon Network website in the like late 90s to play all the games that were on the Cartoon Network website, like the Samurai Jack game, the Powerpuff Girls games, and God, was it a commitment.
Our Cartoon Network, when it first started, it used to be Freeview, and as it started getting bigger, they made it a part of a premium subscription to like what you would call cable or satellite. We just call it Sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But before that, it was literally like Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack, maybe, possibly, and then like Johnny Bravo, Ed, Ed and Eddie. Like, it had the American shows, but it wasn't as big as it was in America.
God, I remember when like satellite and cable like were first starting to become more like affordable for everybody, because before we had satellite or cable, like, because that was also before we had internet, because we had a computer, but the only thing you could play on it, because we didn't have internet yet, was fucking the like super pixelated like Atari level Pool and Minesweeper and Solitaire.
Best games ever.
That's all you could play.
So our like TV stuff started with, you had what was called a set-top box, and if you didn't want to pay anything other than just buying the set-top box, you got what we call free view channels. So you got like channels 1 to 5 and like a few other channels, and then you could pay for a card, and this card had a key on it, and if you plugged it into the set-top box, it would give you access to the better channels. So it would give you access to like Bravo and when Cartoon Network, when Premium Cartoon Network, but people started modifying the cards, so they were cracking them.
Like people do, because piracy's a thing.
Yeah, they were cracking them and getting all the premium stuff for free. So they eventually got phased out, and then the biggest premium service in the UK is Sky. We do have Virgin as well, like TiVo, but that's not as popular as Sky.
Yep. Sky's become a lot like TiVo in recent years as well, because you can record shows and flick through them. Not like they introduced that with Sky Plus, and then HDQ and all that stuff has had it ever since. And then you've got Sky Go, which is phasing out like TiVo, because that technology's sort of dead now. There's on-demand online rather than having to record stuff.
Yeah, like Virgin with their TiVo were doing really fucking well, because they were the only ones who allowed you to record and skip adverts and stuff like that. But then Sky came out with, like Swifty said, Sky Plus, and when Sky came out with that, TiVo in the UK just completely died. Like, the only people who had it were old people who didn't want to change over to Sky.
Yeah, no, I you were talking about the cards, and I remember when I don't know about cable boxes, because I grew up with satellite up until my mom met my stepdad, then we had cable. But I don't remember the cable boxes having cards, but I remember all the satellite like boxes had cards, like DirecTV had cards and all that. And that wasn't, we didn't, and you know, I didn't have access to Cartoon Network or Disney or any of that, or Nickelodeon, until we got satellite and then later on cable. But I remember when growing up, having to try and find something to watch using a local antenna, and you only got local channels. Thankfully, Fox was one of the like quote unquote local channels, so I could still watch Fox Kids on the weekend. But man, was that fun trying to like you know, the bad old days when you had to tweak the freaking antenna on the TV to try and get a clear picture.
Yeah, so in the UK we had every single telly that had a coax port on the back could have like just an aerial plugged into it, and we called it analog TV, and you got 4 channels. It was BBC 1, BBC 2, ITV, and Channel 4. Yeah. And then
when Channel 5 came out, we lost our minds over here.
Yeah, and like for the longest time, like from like pretty much the invention of telly in the UK till about the 90s, it was just 4 channels. It was 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they used to be called 1, 2, 3, and 4. But then we, back in the early 2000s, late 2000s maybe, we did this big digital changeover. It was all over the tellies and everything. Every advert section had it announced that the TVs were switching over to digital, and they were shutting down the analog services and switch to a set-top box to continue watching Freeview.
Yeah, you need to change to a digital converter. That's it. Yeah. Digital converter, you were done.
Yeah, I remember when that happened here too, because I think it happened. It happened at pretty much everywhere at about the same time.
Yeah,
but by then, like even just basic cable was pretty available for everybody, so you could afford like very basic cable
Well, that's equivalent to basic cable, Freeview.
But by that point, in the UK, pretty much every telly that was coming out had a fucking digital receiver built into it.
Yeah.
So, like, the cable you were using to get your channels 1 to 5, you could just plug into the back of your telly, and all of a sudden you've got 77 channels.
Yeah.
And it was free as well, because the UK has this beautiful thing called Freeview.
Well, we'll touch on that quickly. It's free, but whether you use it or not, there's a fee.
Yeah.
TV license. You know, you have a scary looking dude come round and knock on your door and go, "Have you paid your TV license?" And you go, "I don't have a TV, fuck off." And they go, "Oh, okay, fair enough."
I've got a warrant here to come into your property. Do you fuck you dickhead?
Go away.
So being the degen I am, I would be remiss if I did not talk about, when it came to like even just basic cable, the magical fuzzy channel that was the naughty channel, and you had to squint to see anything that was happening.
See, that wasn't really a thing for us, because like I say, we had channels 1 to 5 on analog, and then on cable, like, well, it would be cable for us, it was more like antenna, but still. Like, the 90 channels were like Babe Station and Television X and stuff like that, and they always came through in perfect quality.
Yeah, we didn't have that here.
Yeah, but they were on from a certain time. It was like 11 o'clock at night till like 5 in the morning, because that's where perverts with, you know, one hand around there, you know what, are watching.
It's okay. We'll just call them men of culture.
Men of culture, okay. Men of culture.
You cannot say you have not spent your fair amount of time sat in front of Babe Station.
Well, no, because I had free internet porn, but yes, I did use it a couple of times when I didn't have...
Well, yeah, but this, me and Cinna, I think, are coming from the times before internet porn was, like, really prevalent.
Oh, yeah, Babe Station was totally a thing.
Even in the late 2000s, when internet was massive, or getting as big as it is now, I lived with my grandparents who didn't have internet at the time, so my only form of entertainment was Freeview, or going downstairs to watch the Sky. Now, I wasn't going to sit in the living room watching the adult channels, so I sat in my bedroom with my Freeview box, watching, like, Babe Station and the fucking 10-minute preview on Television X.
See, I had to do that.
Yeah, the last sitting on the bed wiggling our phone.
The 10-minute preview on Television X was a bit more hardcore. Like, Television X was where you went for the actual porn.
Oh, yeah. Fair dinkum.
Yeah, see, by this time, you know, by the time I had discovered these stations, like, so this was when I was like 11 or 12, so this would have been like 2003, 2004-ish. Somewhere around there. I can't do math right now. I've been drinking a little bit.
Yeah, same, bro.
So by the time I discovered these channels, because unfortunately, like I said, you know, those, even if you had cable access in your house, so even if your TV was plugged into the coax, the only channels that, you know, the fun stuff would come up on would be the main cable box if you had those channels. So, and for us, it would be like Cinemax and stuff. And again, it would only be at like certain times of night. So like midnight to like 2 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
So I would have to go to the living room, turn the volume as low as I could get it to where I could still hear it, but not wake up anybody in the house. And, you know, then once I had a good, you know,
You're not explaining that one.
chub going, then I would go to the bathroom.
Yeah, a good grasp, so to speak.
Yeah.
People shit on Babe Station in the UK for it being like super tame and just titties. What people forget is in the mid-2000s, there came a Babe Station channel called BSX. Now, BSX had a section called Flash the Gash.
For cash.
Now, BSX was Babe Station, but full nude. Like, they were full on getting their fannies out and everything. They just weren't touching themselves. But
What you got to remember as well is at this time, since internet porn wasn't a big thing, skin marks is what you had. So, you know, pictures of women. So video of women just, you know, blew everybody's minds.
yes. But also, I remember getting caught with my first skin mag.
What was it?
A Nuts magazine.
See, the first time I ever saw we'll call him a skin mag, because I was going to call it a porno, because that's just what we call it over here. But the first time I experienced that was, it was right after my parents got a divorce, and we were living with me and my siblings, and my mom and I were living with one of my mom's best friends, and her brother had one under his bathroom sink because he had his own bathroom. And so me and my best friend, who was also my mom's best friend's daughter, would sneak into his bathroom and pull the mag out from where we knew he hid it. And I was probably like 9 at this point, so this was like my very first introduction to like porn of any kind. You know, outside of like sex scenes in movies that my parents, you know, put their hands over my eyes, you know, or told me to shut my eyes or something.
Well, for me, I think this is where the age gap's gonna come in.
It was a Hustler.
A Hustler. See, when fucking in the UK we had magazines called Nuts Mags. We had another one, but I can't remember its name. It was basically Nuts, but had a different name.
We had Playboy as well.
I mean, yeah, we had Playboy, but that was more of an American import thing. I'm talking about UK specifics. We had Nuts, and we had another one, but I can't remember its name. But it was pretty much just a Nuts mag. And this was like softcore porn. Like, it was boobs only.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't show anything below the waist.
So it was like Playboy.
For that reason, you could buy them at 16.
What were you gonna say, Swifty?
This is where my age gap's gonna come in though, because my first experience with that sort of shit wasn't like porn mags in general, but it was pictures.
Yeah.
Right, tell the story. I was about 10, and I used to go to a thing in the UK called Youth Club, which is sort of like, it's almost like a club, but without the alcohol.
I know what club you went to.
We had those here too.
I know what club you went to, you fucking chav.
No, it's not that one, it's the other one. It's the one a bit closer to where I lived.
Oh, right, I get you, right.
At the local community centre.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I know which one you're on about though. I did go there once, but I didn't really like it. The vibes were just off. It's where the chavs and druggies went.
The one above the chippy?
Yeah, I know which one you're on about. They called me mum, and that's why I was going, like, if it was okay for us to go there. She's like, why are you going there? I was like, well, the bed I'm seeing went, so I was bored.
Yeah, and my first experience was my friend was like, oh, if you come, they give you a free can of pop and a chocolate bar your first time there. And fucking straight away they gave us a consent form and were like, oh, you need to get your mum to sign this and all that. And all my pals were there, so I was like, fuck it, go on then, I'll get this signed by my ma. Took it to my ma, and she was like, you're not going there, that's where all the chavs and druggies go. So,
that's what my ma said, but for my first session, they said I could go until my ma said I couldn't, which is, you know, not great. But I was like 16, 17 at the time, so...
So anyway, so your first experience with
Yeah, so back to it. Me pal had just getting mobile data, because that just become a big thing for O2, for like us. Like, it just become cheap enough to give it to your children.
Yeah.
So you just put a bolt on and getting free data with it. A bolt on is basically like a contract without a contract. You put money on, they take the money off every month and give you something in return.
Gotcha.
So he got data, and he was sitting browsing RedTube and showing us the thumbnails of the videos.
Oh my god, RedTube fucking brings back some memories.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the Brazza version of RedTube either. I'm talking about the actual original RedTube.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when that came out, but I was like maybe 13 or 14 when that came out. So
my first experience with internet porn was when I got a PSP.
I know where this is going.
This was before my family actually got internet, so this would have been like early 2006, late 2005.
yeah.
And my next door neighbours had internet, and it reached to my house, and it didn't have a WPS password on it or anything like that.
Like a lot of people didn't back in the day.
Yeah. So I would go up into my bathroom, connect to it, and there was a specific website, because anyone who had the original PSP 1000 knows you couldn't play videos on browser. So
Yeah.
They didn't have flash support, didn't it?
Yeah. They didn't have HTML support or Flash support or basically any browser video support.
I don't think they had JavaScript, if I remember correctly.
I don't think they did. But there was this particular website that was a really fucking good porn website back in the day called Pick Hunter.
Yeah, I remember this one.
That was my experience with internet porn.
So this is gonna. We already know I'm the old man of the group. So my first experience with like
was on a rock in a cave.
I'm not gonna call it internet porn. Yeah, it was on a rock in a cave. But no, my first experience with like seeing naked people on the internet was actually in adult chat rooms, because you know I faked my age like any child would did at that point, because at the time you couldn't make a Yahoo Messenger or an AOL Messenger account unless you were like 18 or older. So I faked my age, and I would go.
How old did you have to put in?
Huh?
How old did you have to put in? Because I can still remember the year I used to put in to fake my age when I was a child.
I don't know. I think I bullshitted and said I was in like it was like in the 70s or something.
Yeah, I used to say 1991 and made us 18 from the point of when I started faking my age.
Yeah. See, you know, I was a little bit older in the 2000s, Swifty. So.
Yes, I'm well aware. I'm just saying that's the way it worked for me. I just wondered if you could remember the year, because I still can.
This was like 2000 and I want to say like 2002, 2003. So I was like 11, maybe 12 at the time.
I used to put 1985 because that made us exactly 21 years old.
Yeah, I think I didn't like I didn't like do the exact math on it. I just picked an arbitrary number. So I was like, you know, like 75 or something.
Yeah.
But then I would go into the adult chat rooms on Yahoo, and I would just look at people's profiles. I would find all the women and look at their profiles. Like that was my first
all the F-mails.
Yeah. So that was my first foray into seeing women naked on the internet. And also it was a little bit easier to hide, because even though it still showed up in your browser history, you know, it was easier to hide than like if you went to a website.
Had you not learned the powers of incognito mode yet?
Well, that didn't exist yet, Swifty. This was 2002.
Yeah, I've got a story to tell about that after what's I was gonna say.
When I was around like the time where I was discovering like internet porn and stuff like that, I had reading and writing difficulties, so I wasn't very good at reading. I taught myself to read by going on sites like XNXX Stories and Literatica and reading the stories on there, and I got really fucking good at reading because of them.
I mean, you know, you do what you gotta do.
Like 99% of the people on XNXX and Literatica who post stories think they are fucking wordsmiths and spit a thesaurus.
True. They eat one before or each writing session. I'm sure of it.
So I got very fucking good at reading.
But yeah, Literatica used to be one of my personal faves.
So yeah, porn taught me to read. Lit Rocket was fucking sick until I stumbled across the dark side of Lit Rocket, and then I stopped using Lit Rocket. Same with X and XX.
Yeah, we'll not go too deep into that.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of the dark side of things, there was a dark side to adult chat rooms too, because there was a bestiality chat room I found. That was interesting. That was my first like experience with what I would later learn were kinks. Granted, bestiality, obviously none of us support bestiality, but it's a kink. Now people just,
I don't know, like I've been with some beasts.
Now people live their fantasy out more through like furry porn and stuff like that, but there was a whole chat room of where women's profile pictures and some men's profile pictures were them having sex, mostly with dogs.
So what I loved about like Lit Rotica over X and XX was Lit Rotica allowed posters to put pictures in their stories. So you'd read through like a massive paragraph that's describing like a woman in a sex scene and stuff. And then at the end of a paragraph would be a picture so you could visualize it better. And then when I stumbled across the dark side of Lit Rotica,
oh god,
and I saw a woman being penetrated by a horse.
Oh god.
That was another popular one in the bestiality.
So that was nasty.
Yeah, I was like, no way.
For all of our American viewers, no way means no way in Geordie.
Oh god. Fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say.
The horse dick confused Alex.
Yeah. There's no, you know what? There's no cock like horse cock.
Elephant
but
cock.
anyway. It's a song, Senna. It's a song.
I know it's a song.
It's a great song.
Yes, I know you spammed me with that song until I listened to it.
It was and it was fucking catchy, wasn't it?
It was.
Right, we're gonna have to try a bit harder to convince people that we're not supporters of bestiality at this rate, because so far we found it interesting, and that's how we discovered kinks. Come on, guys, we need to convince them a bit better.
It was, well, the no cock like horse cock is a furry. It's furries. It's not bestiality. It's just a bunch of furries. All right, nothing wrong with furries.
I can support my stance on the fact that I stopped using Lit Rotica and XNXX when I stumbled across that shit, so...
All right. Swifty, did you have anything to add, and then we can get off the porn topic?
Yeah. Yes. Going back to the whole incognito thing, this is when I started using incognito mode. Top and bottom of it, my phone broke, and my stepdad's old one was the same as mine. Now, because it was his phone, I didn't sign into my like Google or YouTube or anything for a while.
Yeah.
So me mum, stepdad, go out, do their thing. I think they were going to the chippy to pick up tea or whatever. And while they were away, I decided to, do what any teenager with a spare 5 minutes does.
Yeah.
That's then followed up by them coming through the door and quoting everything I'd searched, because, searching it on normal browser, signed into his Google account. And the stuff I was searching was when I was first getting into kinks and trying to work out which one was mine, so it was some pretty,
Yeah.
It was some stuff that was hard to explain. It wasn't anything particularly bad, but being a teenager, it was a bit embarrassing. So incognito mode from now on, from that point.
Yeah. So
sorry.
Well, just to add to this, and then we'll go to Senna, and then we'll get off the topic of porn. So my stepdad, and again, this was well before incognito mode. Once incognito mode came along, I had my own laptop anyway. But my stepdad works in network security. So even if we erased the history on the PCs, he knows how to get into the route, like the actual like router history. Like,
okay.
So he knew how to like find, even if we deleted it out of the history in the browser, he knew how to find it no matter what. And that's how me and my stepbrother got caught watching porn, and we got a very stern talking to.
So I got caught when my first mobile phone I got in 2008, because I was in year 8 at the time. So I was like, what, 12-year-old? 11, 12-year-old? Something like that. I downloaded a Rule 34 of Sakura.
Oh.
And I saved it to my phone. This was the day I got my phone as well.
Fun times.
I didn't know that getting your first phone at 12-year-old with strict parents meant your stepdad wanted to check your phone every night.
I can see where this is going.
Yeah. So I'm all happy as Larry. I've got my Sakura on my phone. I'd been showing it to my mates all day and everything. Yeah. Get home, stepdad's like, right, pass us your phone, I'm checking it, and I want to see what you've been doing with it for the day. Goes through my pictures. Sakura, legs spread wide open, fanny on display, tits hanging out. Yeah.
Nice.
That was fun.
Yeah, the way I got caught was something very, very similar. Like, that wasn't me getting caught, that was like when I started using incognito mode. Me getting caught was when I got my first, what I would consider a decent phone that anyone bought for us, because I always bought my own Androids and that. BlackBerry became a big thing. So BlackBerry, it used to have a thing where on videos you could either watch them or save them.
Yeah.
So I used to save a bunch, not thinking about it, and this is how I got around this in the end. And I'd let my mum's phone had died. She had the same phone as me, so she went, "Oh, can I video the cat?" Because they were doing something funny.
Mm-hmm.
And send it to myself. Now these videos, to make them easily accessible, I used to save them all as A1, 8, AA2, AA, you know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So she went looking for the video, and the first video she found was a lass sitting, legs spread wide open, dadding herself with a big black vibrator.
I know what site you went to get these if you were on a Blackbird.
What site?
Hoovity.
Yep.
Yep.
Alright, I gotta go to the restroom real quick.
Yeah, no, just to continue my stepdad story though, right? He wasn't ashamed that I had porn on my phone. He was ashamed it was porn of a cartoon character.
Yes.
Man. Hentai. Anywho, I gotta go to the restroom real quick. We'll take a short break and then we'll get back into it.
Yeah.
This is whole music that I'm singing.
Are you gonna do this all the way through?
No fucking shot, man.
But yeah, we're moving on once Bjorn gets back. The last message on that is the internet is for porn. Grab your dick and double click for porn, porn, porn.
Indeed. Or I'd like to teach the world to fap. Perfect harmony. Hentai pics and chicks with dicks. But no, Swifty, I could have went worse for the hold music. DWP.
You should have went for the Star Wars no, I've got PTSD on that one. I was more thinking the Star Wars elevator music.
No.
Right, I'm just gonna go in the bath and wait for the hole to finish. That's how long you were waiting. It was like an hour.
Yep.
Alright. I'm back.
You need to leave that entire section in. Just saying.
What about porn?
I'm gonna. No, the whole section. How we were entertaining in between.
Oh, that's fine. All right.
So, we're not talking about porn anymore.
Yeah, we went on a huge tangent. Huge tangent about porn.
Ended that one with grab your dick and double click for porn.
Yeah. God, I remember when that came out. Fuck, I'm old. Anyway. All right. Well, since we were talking about cell phones. So, first, what age was everybody when they got their first cell phone? Because I didn't get my first cell phone until I was maybe 12.
Yeah, same, 12.
It was definitely pre, 10. I can remember because I think it was an old Nokia, because it was the one with the interchangeable covers, because I had a Tigger cover, and I remember it had a green screen, and I had 4 numbers.
See, I think this is the perfect example of generational differences, because when you were 12, Alex, there wasn't really this massive thing with mobile phones, and that didn't really change when I was 12. But when Swifty was 10, it kind of became a necessity for your child to have a mobile phone.
Yeah, because of stranger danger and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's the reason I got a cell phone. But the only reason I got a cell phone was because we lived in Frederick, Maryland, which at the time was notorious. Wasn't Baltimore levels notorious or DC levels notorious, but it was downtown Frederick was not particularly safe. But me and my stepbrother, we did BMX a lot. So we would go and we would bike around the neighborhood, but also we would bike around downtown. So after the second or third time we called them from a bike shop nearby because we got a flat, they got us cell phones. That way we could just call them from the cell phone, or wherever we were, if we got a flat or whatever, so it was definitely a safety thing. But my very first cell phone, and I don't know if you guys know about this, but was the N-Gage, which was
the Nokia N-Gage.
Yeah, the one where you could play fucking it had cartridges. Yeah, it had cartridges.
The Space Taco.
Yeah, and you could play Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 on it.
Yeah, I don't really remember it, but I know what they are because obviously I'm into older technology.
Yeah, so so it was the N-Gage, and it had cartridges, which were the cartridges were more like SD cards than they were cartridges.
Yeah.
But that was my very first cell phone. The very first cell phone I remember my mom having was the old Nokia brick, and and this was back in the days where cell phone games were not very a thing other than Snake.
Snake was next level though.
Yeah, at the time anyway. And then I got an N-Gage, and I'm like, wait, I can play fucking Sean Palmer Pro Snowboarder and Tony Hawk Pro Skater on my cell phone? Nowadays you think about cell phone games and they're there are some that are really pretty impressive. It still doesn't hold a candle to other forms of mobile gaming, your Game Boys and stuff like that. But at the time, that was freaking awesome.
Because I remember when the Android phones first started gaining popularity, same with Apple phones, and it was there's an app for that, and there's a game for that, and everyone just lost their minds because it's all this in a phone. We didn't know we wanted this, but now we've got it. We want it. We want more of it.
Oh yeah, I remember when smartphones became a thing. But and then my second phone after the N-Gage, and this was when I was 15 or 16, so I was in high school by this time. So my second phone was the Motorola Riser, not the Razr, the Riser, the one that you slid.
The Razr was the flip, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Razr was the flip, and the Riser was the slider. And then after the Riser, I had the skinny Razor. I didn't get my first smartphone until my senior year of high school, so I would have been 17 or 18.
I'm genuinely going back in time to find my first phone. I'm literally on a website right now looking at all the old Nokia phones because I can't remember what model number was.
Oh yeah, I was definitely privileged because I got a pretty cool phone for my first phone, but that was mostly because of my stepdad. Like, before my mom met my stepdad, we were pretty poor, so I definitely would not have gotten that if it wasn't for my stepdad.
Yeah, the thing is though with me, like, I'm fairly certain it was a Nokia 3310, but I remember the back and front having interchangeable plates, so I think it might have been a more upgraded model.
Yeah.
The issue is they've redone that phone fairly recently, so it's hard to find the older ones.
Yeah, my mom's very first cell phone was the Nokia, like the brick phone.
Hey, my first one was a Nokia.
I remember it had a button on each side, and all of the keypad came out, and that was interchangeable because it was just like a thingy on top of the buttons, like a rubber stoppers. And everything came off, including like there was like an external screen. They really thought about the design of this phone. Like, when you took it all off, the screen that came off of it was just like a screen protector.
Yeah.
And it was just like a white internal. Like, you couldn't see any of the circuit boards on often because it was like plastic over the top, like plastic and metal.
Yeah.
But you could take that the back cover and the front case off and interchange them. Because I remember me ma getting us a Tigger one for it.
Yeah.
It was grey with Tigger's face on the back. And I've got no idea what ever happened to that phone. I had it for a while and I don't remember. I think the novelty just wore off and I stopped carrying it.
I
think when people around us had better phones, it was like, I'd rather have an MP3 player on us.
Fair.
Mine was like a 6620 or a 6630 or something like that.
So Swifty, I don't know, like, because by the time texting became a huge thing, you probably had the BlackBerry already.
Texting was a huge thing, yeah. I think I had an Android phone. In fact, no, I had the precursor to Android. I had a Samsung Monty. I can still remember. It was the first phone I had with a touchscreen.
Yeah, so when texting, like, very first started becoming, like, a big thing, I don't know if Cinna remembers this, but I remember when you would have to, like, you know, press the numbers 2 or 3 times to get the letter that you wanted.
Yeah, I do remember that also.
And you had to do it, like, 5 or 6 times, depending on whether you wanted to be caps or not.
Yep.
Yeah, because you had to do it all the way through the letters, because each number represented 3 or 4 letters, and then it went to the number, and then the caps afterwards.
And then when predictive text became a thing, like, that saved you so much fucking time.
Oh, we went totally different directions on that. Predictive text just ruined me, because the phone just doesn't know what I'm trying to say half the time.
I mean, fair.
Because I do this because he used to save his money that way. Because I don't know if you remember, but there was a character limit for a text, so you'd have to send 2.
Yeah. And the character limit was fucking tiny.
So he used to save his money cutting it down.
Yeah.
So it was only like 400 characters or something per text.
It's literally where text talk came from, like the TTYL and CYL and stuff like that.
Yeah. Of course.
LYSF, and it's because you got charged per character, so it was like send as least characters as you could.
Yep. Oh yeah, no, I remember that because I, you know, my girlfriend at the time and I would text all the time, even though she lived right next door to me.
But continuing the whole first phone thing, though, like, I got my first phone when I was 12, and for me, it was like, one, I was getting bullied at school because I was the only kid who didn't have a mobile, and 2, I was venturing further and further away from home. I was like 12-year-old at the time. I didn't want to play in my front street. I wanted to be like the other side of the town. I wanted to go to my friends' houses and stuff. So I needed some way to be able to tell my parents where I was going or if I needed help or anything.
Yeah, so like a really similar reason to why I got my first cell phone.
Yeah, I mean, that was the main reason, but the secondary reason was I was getting bullied and I was coming home really angry because of it.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, I had no friends, so I wasn't venturing very far. Like, that's not even a joke.
Like, I got really fucking good at fucking using phone pads to type, to the point where...
T9 text.
Basically, yeah.
That's what it was called, T9.
Yeah, I got so good at that, like, fucking... I used it on pretty much everything other than a PC. So anything that had text input that allowed you to switch to that mode. So on my PSP, I did it with that. I did it with... what else did I do it with? Anything that allowed us to do it that way. I did it that way because in my head it was just so much fucking easier. Again, reading and writing difficulties, so remembering numbers was easier than remembering letters to me.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right. So, continuing on the technology point, though, again, because I don't. Depending on your living situation, sometimes this did vary, or like how rich or poor you were, and then later on they became more, less expensive. But when did you guys get your first MP3 player? Because again, my first MP3 player, I think I got late middle school, early high school. So like when I was 14 or 14-ish.
I got my PSP in 2005. I technically could be counted as an MP3 player because it could play MP3s and MP4s. But if we're talking exclusively MP3 players, I got one, I think it was the year before I got my PSP. So
what brand was it?
Wolfdale.
My very first MP3 player was a SanDisk.
Mine was a Wolfdale, and it was like super futuristic for the time. It was actually a really fucking good MP3 player. My parents spent good money on it.
And mine was like a really simple one. It was just, a mini USB port that you plugged into your computer and put your songs on it, and then just, write, play, skip. Rewind.
Alex,
like that was it.
Back when...
Wait, I can remember mine also.
Back when MP3 players having 1 gig was considered big.
Yeah. And mine was... I think mine was a 1 gig.
Same.
So I could have like 2,000 songs on it or something.
Yeah.
I think mine was around about 2006 because I remember getting it just before the Germany World Cup. And I can remember that thingy because one of the first songs I ever listened to it on was that, do you know the Dirty Harry song, We're Going Down the Pub?
Yeah.
It was a remake of that for the World Cup. That was We're Gonna Win the Cup.
Yeah.
What brand was it?
I think it was an off-brand, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it was just like a USB stick that you plugged in. It just looked like a USB stick with a headphone jack.
I've told a lie.
Oh god, you had an iPod, didn't you?
No, it wasn't 2004 that I got my first MP3 player. I've just unrepressed a repressed memory.
Oh, okay.
It was 2002, and it was a Christmas present from my dad. I repressed it though because it was a Christmas present for me that he ended up stealing.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's interesting because I got mine later than you. But I think that's that might be a generational thing because my parents, again, this was when MP3 players and stuff were like just becoming popular and stuff as I was growing up with it. So I also didn't like ask for an MP3 player or anything because I had a CD player. Until my CD player didn't work anymore, that's when we got an MP3 player. So
the Ghetto Blaster. So it did tape. It was like one of the mini they brought a mini Ghetto Blasters.
Yeah.
It did tape. It did radio. Could have had a little antenna thing you stood up. and it also did CD, because it was when CDs was like, becoming a big thing. And it was naughty to have, because originally I got it was sort of like a CD Walkman.
Yeah.
So I thought that was amazing, because, you know, I can have my music on the go now. I don't have to, like, sit down. Or the Ghetto Blaster could have batteries, but it was quite heavy. So I used to chuck that in the backpack and walk around like that. And then when I got the MP3 player, it's like, this is so cool. I can clip it to my shirt, or I can put it in my pocket and just, you know, I don't have to carry all these CDs anymore. It's just all on here, and it's cool. And the little screen tells us what I'm listening to. And
I mean, I wore cargo pants a lot, so you know, I could fit my CD player in my cargo pocket. I just had to have like an extra long headphone cable. But my CD player I had was like a Sony CD player, and I had, you know, the shitty headphones, because this was before earbuds. This was before earbuds were a thing.
Yeah, the shitty on-ear headphones.
Yeah, I had my little CD case in my backpack or whatever, or I would just have the CD I wanted to listen to as I walked to school that day. And then I would just keep my CD player in my pocket the whole day, and then like if I felt like listening to music at recess, then I would pull my headphones out at recess.
I got my first CD player in 2001, and the first CD I got for it was Pop Party 2001.
I think that's about when I had my first CD player, was 2001.
Yeah.
But the CDs I listened to were, you know, my mom's CDs. So
I got one CD both for us for it, and it was Pop Party 2001.
yeah.
And then fucking, if I wanted more CDs for it, I had to use my pocket money.
Yeah.
So the only CDs I really had for it were the one I had both for us, and I bought myself, what was it? I think it was Guns N' Roses, possibly, CD for it, and I switched between them two. And I had a backpack that, I don't know if you remember this, but when MP3 players and CD players were big, and backpacks used to have the little fucking flappy cloud.
Flap at the top.
Yeah, that you could put your headphones through.
Yeah, I remember that.
I had one of them backpacks for it.
Well, me when I was young, I had both the Crazy Frog albums, because that was a big thing, and obviously the World Cup album, which was a rewrite of a lot of famous songs.
Crazy Froggia, talking about 2005, 2006 then?
Yeah, 2006. Like I say, the reason for that, I know it's 2006 because I got all three albums together.
Yeah.
Cause I got the summer mix, the Christmas mix of Crazy Frog, and then I got, obviously, the World Cup album. And then when I actually got into music, the albums I got, because I've got them up here, it was Muse Absolution, Muse Black Holes and Revelations, Metallica Kill Them All, and one of the 3D Grace albums.
Yeah, when I first got my CD player, so the only CDs I had were my mom's, so it was a lot of country music, and then occasionally it would be something like Linkin Park or something like that. My mom was a big Linkin Park fan.
Yeah.
And then like some older rock songs and stuff, like if she had like a mixtape or something that she like had burned, or somebody burned for her. And then I didn't have my own CDs, because I would once my mom met my stepdad and I met my stepbrother showed me how to like burn CDs. So I burned my own CDs with his music, because he was more into like metal and stuff, and that's when I started getting into like harder rock and metal. And that's when I got into like, I didn't get into Korn or Disturbed or anything until I met him, and like Slipknot and stuff. And then my very first CD that like I bought, you know, was the Disturbed 10,000 Fists album. Was like the very first CD I bought myself that wasn't music that I just ripped from somebody else's CD.
Yeah.
And then when MP3 players, and then when MP3 players came along, you know, and I could just put a shit ton of music from whatever, like our music collection and whatever. And then like Napster started becoming a thing when MP3 players started becoming a thing. We didn't have Napster. We had Rhapsody, which was like a little bit more legitimate than Napster, because I think most of us remember the Napster controversy, where Napster was stealing songs and not actually getting licenses for them.
Didn't Metallica sue them or something?
Yeah. Yeah, Lars fucking went in. But we had Rhapsody, and that's when I started discovering like ICP and stuff like that, because now I had this like huge unrestricted music pool and I could just look shit up.
Yeah.
And then as time went by, other pirating sites became a thing other than LimeWire, ones that were more safe, and like uTorrent became a thing. And I had a friend that used uTorrent a lot. And, it was my best friend all through middle school and high school. So if I ever wanted music, I would just be like, "Yo, can you get this album or this band's discography for me?"
Yeah, I mean,
most of the music I still own that I don't just listen to on like a streaming service.
My
is all from uTorrent.
Experience with like piracy was my dad used to be the person you would go to for a dodgy DVD.
Yeah.
And these were like really fucking dodgy DVDs. Like, you've got the people who can get them in somewhat decent quality. His were the ones where it was the back of the cinema recording through someone's fucking head.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he would charge like £3 per DVD. That was my first experience with piracy. And obviously being exposed to it at such a young age and stuff like that, I started delving into like the Pirate Bay, and then using magnets and stuff like that, so like using VOOs, like torrent managers and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I can remember there was, BitTorrent, uTorrent, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I can remember distinctively one of the spy cams, which is what they were called at the time, like people recording in the back of the cinemas. And I can remember reading a comment for what was like the best rated, because that's what you did. You looked for the cameras when they first came out, and then you got a better one when the DVD came out. So I found this camera, the best rated one, and legit, the comment on it was, "I hope the cunt in the front row crunching popcorn chokes."
Honestly,
goddamn,
that was legit the top comment on this video, and I was like, I wonder. And legit, during every main scene, there's no bit of dialogue that you can hear over the top of him crunching his popcorn. Like, I agreed with that comment watching that movie, but I was that desperate to see it. Being a poor kid, I sat there through the crunching, because it's like he had to sit through it, so Solar.
If I think back to my experience of movies as like a child when DVDs and stuff were getting bigger, like, honestly the majority of movies I watched as a child were watched through people's heads because they were like pirated copies. But
yeah, my eyes still fix that. My eyes still fix that, so I still see a black motion thing in the middle that I've got to build around.
That was a lot of what, like, if I went to my dad's house, like, he had a bunch of dodgy, pirated DVDs and stuff.
Yeah, I turned my parents off of like piracy completely, because back when it was like first like DVDs were being pirated and stuff like that, people weren't really understanding the law around it. They thought, "Oh well, I'm not breaking the law, it's personal," and stuff like that. And I remember once, fucking, my parents wouldn't let us watch one of the DVDs that they had pirated. So I kicked off and I goes, "I'm going to ring the police and report you for piracy. Never pirated again. Never pirated again."
There's an ironic story about the pirated DVDs though, because I remember each and every one of them had one or two things. You either had that white background with the black screen that said, "It is illegal to copy DVDs and you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. This DVD cannot be copied because of the special technology," and it's like, it is a copy. And the other one is everyone, if it didn't have that, it would have the pre-roll ad of, "You wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't shank a policeman. You wouldn't shit in his hat and give it to his widow.
You wouldn't kick a dog up the arse for a $5."
God, it was so easy to rip DVDs and shit. Like,
you wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal a handbag. Piracy is stealing. Stealing is against the law. Plot twist: the music in that ad piracy because they never paid the artist for it.
But speaking of like DVDs and stuff, like, cause I remember VHS, like, and I remember still watching VHS until DVDs started becoming more popular and, like, you know, again, less expensive. And like some of the anime I consumed growing up was because my dad or my uncle, because they had, you know, satellite and had access to, like, because back in the day, you know, you didn't have a whole lot of anime like before the internet became a big thing. Like, the only way you could watch anime is if you had specific channels that would show dubbed anime every once in a while. And whenever they would do that, my dad and my uncle would pop a VHS into the VCR and then record those shows, because it was fucking hard back in the day to find anime. Like, you could find VHSs, but even those VHSs were usually pirated.
Yeah.
Even the ones that were quote unquote legal were pirated.
Yep. I remember VHS being a big thing when I was like young, because I remember at the front room, it was back when we had one of the big, it was when the big TVs, but the big box TVs came out, you know, the 4-man lift TVs.
Yeah.
The TV had 4 handles on, so it was pretty certain that 4 people were supposed to lift it.
Yeah.
And the audio wouldn't work unless you had, like, it was a VHS player, but at that point all VHS players had VCRs built in.
Yeah.
And the audio on the TV wouldn't work because everything had a pass through to this, like, VHS player.
Yeah.
So until you turned it on, the video would work, but the sound wouldn't, because the sound required power to the VHS player to work.
Yeah. So, I can tell you the last movie I ever got on VHS, and it was Shrek.
Let's see. I think the last movie I ever got on VHS, it wasn't Shrek, because, again, by then my mom had met my stepdad, and he was, like, big into technology because A, he worked for the government, and B, he was in, you know, cybersecurity.
Oh my god, your stepdad is CIA.
He's not CIA. Well, at one point he did work for the CIA.
Is his name Stan Smith?
Your stepdad is a fucking Fed.
But he was, you know, he was in the Navy, and in the Navy, like, his whole thing was, you know, coding and like, once cybersecurity started becoming a thing, that, you know, he worked in cybersecurity.
So he saw a lot of semen.
Yes, he saw a lot of semen. But I think the very last VHS I remember getting was probably, I think it was Treasure Planet. It was Treasure Planet from Disney.
Yeah. I don't remember what the last VHS I got, because a lot of mine were sort of bought together.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it worked. I got a couple at a time. Because usually it was stuff that had been recorded either off somebody's TV or recorded from another one. You know, you plug in your VHS, you plug the VCR into that, you record off that and make a less quality version.
Yeah.
Usually put on the extended player so you can get more than, you know, what was supposed to be on there, so the tape ran a bit slower.
Yeah.
Because on some of them tapes you could get like 8 hours if you had it on like the lowest setting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, decrease picture quality to get more hours out of it. It was pretty cool. But I can distinctly remember 2 instances. Instance number 1 was watching, I think it was The Little Mermaid, and the button on the VHS player, the eject button, got stuck in. So my ma sat there and took a VHS player to bits to get me tape back. Instance number 2 was sticking it in, and it ran for like 30 seconds, and then it started having like flickers and we had like stuff going on. And I ejected it, and the tape was stuck in the tape player still. Like, the actual tape reel was stuck on the magnet inside. So I didn't even get to watch that movie. I don't remember what it was, but I didn't even get to watch it because as soon as I put it in the tape player, that was it. It was wrecked.
So my last VHS player I ever had was an old telly I had, an old CRT, and it had one built into the bottom of it, and it was like one of them ones where you had to hold fucking power and fucking all these fucking buttons together to get it to go into VHS mode. And I had that telly for so fucking long. Like, genuinely, it was probably about 2007, 2008 that I got rid of that telly. And my upgrade was the Sony Titan. That was my upgrade telly. I went from this nice little CRT telly that had a VHS player built into it to this gargantuan fucking CRT that took like 4 men to lift. It was that big and heavy.
So you could probably kill someone with it.
No, genuinely, fucking 2009, I moved into the house where my parents are now, and at the time, like still now, it's disability adapted, so it had a lift in it. The telly was so fucking heavy, we put it in the lift, and the lift struggled to bring it up.
Damn.
Yeah, that lift was rated for 500 kilograms, and it struggled to bring it up.
Speaking of large televisions, I remember when the very first HD like flat screen television we had, which was an HD television, but it was still like a tube television.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like it was technically a flat screen, but it wasn't, you know, flat like we would think of flat now.
Well, because originally flat screen just referred to the actual screen, not the body.
Yeah. Yeah. Plasma screens were the ones that were thinner at the time. But this was an HD, like, flat screen TV, but it was massive.
I know which one you're talking about. I know, like, fucking, its stand was its speakers in it. It was, like, as deep as it was wide, and,
yeah.
It was, like, the first 50-inch telly or some shit like that. As well.
Yeah, I remember. And, God, it took me, my brother, and my stepdad to carry that.
Yeah, that was the next version of the Sony Titan.
And that was like, that was when I was like late middle school. So like I was in 8th grade. So I would have been like 13-ish, 13 or 14-ish.
Back in the day, moving the TV was an entire family job.
Yeah.
Everybody off the couch would all like this position.
Well, moving the family TV was a family job. Like, own little personal ones, you could do that one-handed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even the little 12-inch screen tube TVs.
Do you want to know the best thing in the world, though? My first, like, flat screen TV, like LCD TV.
Yeah.
I've still got it now.
Same.
It's like...
I was about to say that. It's the one that stands on my desk.
Well, we got it, it would have been about 2006, 2007. It was the family TV, and we got it on Tiki. And it was one of them ones where you put £1 in for 3 hours.
Oh.
Yeah.
I know which one you're on about.
Yeah. It died within a few months of we're getting it. It died. So, obviously on Tiki it was covered, sent it back. They just sent a brand new one out instead of repairing it, because that's what they did at the time. And since then, hasn't died. Like, it's dying now, but hasn't died until now, and I've legitimately still got it. It's in my flat right now.
Well, mine was a Christmas present from my dad one year. Like, legit, Asda had these TVs in, and it was when HD TVs were just becoming affordable.
Yeah.
And it was like, do you want a TV for Christmas? It's like, yeah.
But this is how old this TV is. It doesn't have 1080p. It's got 1080, but it's not 1080p. It's 1080i.
I can top it, bro. I don't have that. I've got 720.
That's what ours was.
So it's 1080 interlace.
1080
instead of
interlace,
1080p.
Yep.
So I used to always call that fake 1080 when I was a kid. It's sort of the equivalent of 4K versus native 4K.
It's fake 1080. It's like 720 interlaced to make it look like 1080.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's like the 4K from a couple of years ago, like what the Xbox One S and that did, where it wasn't actually native 4K.
What the PS4 Pro did, yeah.
Yeah, so where it was 4K, but you know, you can't, it's not native 4K.
Yeah.
That was sort of what it was.
4K interlaced, yeah. And it made it motion look absolutely fucking horrible, and it was flickery as fuck.
Yeah, that one.
But genuinely...
Yeah, but you know, at the time, we thought it was fucking awesome.
But genuinely, this telly, so what, 2006, so it's like what, fucking 16-year-old? 15, 16-year-old now? I swear to God, has a beautiful image. I don't know how, I don't know why, but its 720 is so fucking crisp, and the colours are so fucking good on it. For a 16-year-old telly, one of the first flat screen LCD TVs, and it's so fucking crisp.
Well, let's give you a brief idea of how old mine is. The advertised features for the TV was the fact it was in 60 Hz, it's 720p, and the fact it has a USB drive so you can play movies and that off of a USB stick. It's that old that, do you remember the original connections for the original HD PVR, the P or B,
Yeah.
B or Y button things?
Yes.
It doesn't have them yet, because they weren't a thing when that TV was made.
Because that was what, 2005?
Yeah, like obviously I didn't get the TV when it first came out, but it was a case of I got it when it was, you know, affordable at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like I say, 720p was an advertised feature. The fact it was a huge 24 inches was an advertised feature.
I mean, the most expensive screen I have is actually my monitor for my PC, and that's sad.
I think it's the one that's on the wall. I think it's a 36 inch, and again, it's... That one's 1080p though, and it's, again, 60 Hz. I don't have an actual monitor.
For me, it's like fucking 165 Hz, 27 inches IPS, 1440p, and I paid £320 for it. And it's
not bad at all.
The most expensive screen I own.
Alright, so speaking of like, back to like when we were talking about VHSs and DVDs, remember when Blu-rays first came out? And it was like
I do.
The shit.
And then fucking Microsoft tried to compete with HD DVD.
Yeah, HD DVDs, and it fucking flopped.
And their thing was like the fucking maroon box is the HD DVDs and the blue box is the Blu-ray, and it's like
red versus blue again, guys. Microsoft were really competing with Halo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and the Blu-ray was the one that took off because it looked better, and it held more information.
I mean, Sony lost the last format war. They were due a win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sony, one of that, like, the Blu-ray was the first Blu-ray I owned was a PS3.
Yeah.
Because it was when the Slims first came out, so it was like 250, 300 like pound for a console and a Blu-ray player, or 500 for a Blu-ray player by itself.
My first Blu-ray player that I owned, like mine, was my PS4.
My first Blu-ray player was a PS, like that, again, that was mine, was a PS3.
No, for me it was my PS4.
Yeah, I thought that was so cool that it was a Blu-ray player, and
I bought that PS3 with my own, like, money that I had saved, like, I was like a kid. So.
Yeah, like, that's me with my PS4. I mean, like, it was second hand, I bought it off my stepdad, but it was my own money that I had earned. It wasn't like a gift or anything. But yeah, no.
Yeah, because I got the PS3 when it came out.
Oh no, I didn't get my PS4 until like it had been out for like 4 years or something.
Yeah, when I think of the PS3 first coming out, I just think of the meme of the $599 and the kid crying about it.
All right, so now this is gonna be, I think, what defines the generation gaps here. First things first, we're like Blockbusters or Blockbuster-like stores a big thing in the UK?
Yes.
There were, yes.
Yeah,
we had one in Blythe.
Yeah. So, I mean, Swifty, you'll probably remember this because you know it wasn't too long into the Gen Z life cycle that Blockbusters and stuff started going away. But,
yeah. Ours was one of the last, like, around here.
Like, nothing beats that feeling when you were younger of going to a video store on a Friday night and getting, like, your parents getting a movie and then you getting a game and then getting, like, some popcorn and some pizza, and, like, that was your Friday night. Like, to me, that epitomizes early 2000s nostalgia.
This man's loaded, Swifty. Fucking hell. I can
To be fair, I do remember Blockbusters, not because we ever had it, but I can remember somebody my mum was saying at one point had it. Now, we went to Blockbusters, them two got a film, we got a film for we'd all watch, and then it was a game for me and his son to play.
I'm not saying it was every Friday night, because, again, it became more of like an every Friday night thing, again, by the time my mom met my stepdad.
Yeah.
But, like, stuff was starting to, that kind of stuff was becoming a little bit more affordable by then.
Yeah.
But also, you know, again, like, I'll fully admit that, like, I did grow up poor until my mom met my stepdad.
Yeah.
So, like, just not, you know, you can take the pizza away, you can take the popcorn away, but, you know, going to like a Blockbuster, or for us, we had
the caviar back in the fridge.
We didn't have caviar, but for us it was like an off-brand Blockbuster that was near us. It was called Hollywood Video.
Yeah.
And so we would go to the Hollywood Video, and we would get, you know, a movie, because I think at the time, like, renting a movie was only like $5, and renting a game was like maybe $4 or $5 too.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was expensive.
I remember the deals when I was a kid. It was like £5 for 5 days, sort of thing.
Yeah.
For games. Like if it was a new game out, it was £5 for 5 days.
I think it was like, yeah, it was like a week. Here. It was like $5 for a week.
My memory of like video rental and stuff like that was I was really fucking young at the time, and it was when my mum was single, and there was a video rental store around the corner. It wasn't a Blockbusters, it was just like a little local one, and like a couple times a year would rent one of the new movies and would watch it as a family. But like my memories of Blockbusters was when I had my own console, going to Blockbusters and getting the X rental games when they were on sale.
Yeah.
Like when they were actually selling them because they weren't renting them anymore.
Yeah.
And you'd get like really fucking good games for like £1, 50 pence, £1.50.
See, one of my fondest memories from that was, because this was around the PS2 era. So in the PS2 era, I was, you know, like, again, like 11 or 12 ish, because I think the PS3 came out when I was 15, 14, or like 15 ish. Again, like the memory is not what it used to be. But the very first time I was introduced to like a Street Fighter Alpha game was Street Fighter Alpha 3 for the PlayStation 2, and we rented it. And like, this is where a lot of my love for fighting games came in, because those were usually the games I wanted to rent, were like Street Fighter Alpha, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like, and that's how I experienced fighting games a lot, at least in that like time. I had like Street Fighter for like the Super Nintendo and Mortal Kombat for the Sega, and we can transition into like what your guys' first consoles were later. But like those are like I said, when I think of early 2000s like nostalgia, it's going to like a Hollywood Video or a Blockbuster, a video rental store on a Friday night because it was the treat, either whether it was a once a month treat or like a once a week treat or every couple of weeks treat. That was your family treating you to something in the early 2000s, and that epitomizes nostalgia for me.
Say, what epitomizes nostalgia for me is like fucking. My mom had just bought the newest fucking VHS, and we'd all sit and watch it as a family.
Yeah.
We used to have literally a wall. I would say probably measured about 20 feet, like in length, and it was just covered in a bookshelf, and every single shelf was filled with VHSs.
Yeah, family movie nights were always good too.
Yeah.
But usually our movie nights were we didn't always buy the newest movies, we rented them.
Well, we got robbed. We got broken into. And obviously we had this wall full of VHSs. That was like all gone. I think they left one or two. The Stormy Fox and the fucking Hound.
Oh no.
Those bitches.
That's like more than a civil crime. That's like a major crime.
It was such a good movie.
I hope they drop the soap in the shower.
But no, and then after that point, my mum kind of like stopped collecting VHSs. It was like, where video collection.
What's the point if someone's gonna nick them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always went for digital media as a rule, but it wasn't a big thing growing up, so it was all DVDs.
Yeah.
Now, DVDs, I had a habit of leaving them out of their cases, so once I watched the DVD once, it probably wasn't getting watched again, because it was probably not possible.
Sorry.
For all the DVDs that I owned, they all went into a CD case, so...
Swifty,
yeah.
I'm going to trigger some nostalgia for you here, though. You remember going to Blockbusters, going to their bargain bin of their ex-rental games, right?
Yes.
And there were always black cases with the red paper in the sleeve, the red and white paper in the sleeve, and the game name was always written in fucking Sharpie across the front of it. Always.
Yes. It was for the game. Basically, they couldn't rent them out anymore because someone had either broke the box or they'd lost the instruction manual or whatever, so they couldn't rent it out as a full game anymore.
Or
so
the game was just too old to rent anymore, like it wasn't making money until they sell it on.
Yeah, usually when you saw box games like that, it's because the box was too damaged to sell.
Yeah.
Or that's the way they thought anyway.
And you didn't know what platform it was going to be until you actually picked it up and looked at the front.
Yeah, because it would have written in tiny letters on what it was.
Yeah, in little brackets, it was like PS2. Xbox 360.
It would say Xbox or PS2 or...
Yeah, and then it would have the price scrolled across the front next to it as well.
Aye. You'd always make the same retail joke if it didn't. if it's not got a price on it, does that mean it's free? As an adult working in retail, I wish everyone ever said that to me. I'm just saying. As a child, that was funny. Same as asking the people in the pawn shop how much everything was. That was also fun.
So like...
I was a devil's advocate growing up.
Still on the topic of rental stores, like my very first like foray into a lot of different video games were because of rental stores. So like my first time experiencing Devil May Cry was Devil May Cry 1 from a rental store and Devil May Cry 3 from the rental store.
So I remember when Blockbusters closed down where I'm living now, because it was 2012 and I didn't know it was closing down at the time, and me and my partner at the time went in because we were going to rent a movie, and the shelves were like pretty fucking barren. There was like a couple movies left on,
Was that when they were up to like their 60 or 70% discount on everything?
Pretty much, yeah. And I was like, went to the guy, I was like, oh, we've come to rent a movie. He was like, you can buy a movie. And it's like, oh no, we don't want to buy, we just want to rent for like a week. And he turned around and he goes, we don't do rentals anymore, we're literally closing.
We're not going to be open in a week.
Yeah. He's like, we're literally packing up to close. Are you blind?
Yeah.
I was like, wait, you're closing?
Well, in Blythe, we knew the guy behind the counter, and the way he put it across was they went, right, discount everything. No, like, oh, we'll lose more jobs. It's like, no, it's just they're closing a few branches, so you'll get moved somewhere else. And then one day it was, pack up what you've got left, send it back, and leave. You just don't have jobs anymore.
Well, Blockbuster has tried to do a Netflix. They tried to go subscription service.
Netflix approached Blockbusters before that, offered to sell them their service, and they laughed at them and said it would never replace going into a bricks and mortar store and renting movies.
Yeah, until it did.
Because
Netflix was just an online rental service back then.
You know, Netflix is still an online rental service. You can still request a rental DVD from Netflix, and they will send it out to you.
I might need to try that and see what happens.
Is GameFly still a thing?
Never heard of it.
You guys remember GameFly?
I've heard of it, but I never used it.
Well, it was here. I don't know if it was worldwide. It was here in the U.S. and it was basically at the time, because it was when Blockbuster and everything were starting to go out of business. It was basically what Netflix was, but for video games. So you paid a monthly subscription, like with Netflix, and you got up to 2 video games in the mail. And you could, just like with Netflix at the time, you could just keep them for however long you wanted until you sent them back, and once you sent them back you could request 2 more.
The last Blockbusters in the UK closed February 1st, 2013.
That's sad. That was 9 years ago.
Yeah. Now the only place you can like rent a physical DVD is at a Redbox, which I don't even know if you guys have that in the UK.
No,
we don't.
Wait, no, I tell a lie. We do, but not.
Just not down here.
No, it's not out in the streets or anything like that. The only places it is holiday parks.
For us, it's usually at most like grocery stores or like at like pharmacies. For
us, it's like you can tell you're at a really cheap rundown holiday park if it's got a red box, because the better ones have like smart tellies where you can log into your Netflix and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I might have seen the red boxes, to be honest, when I've been to a couple of different holiday parks, some smaller ones on top, so I've probably passed them. If they were pointed out to us, I'd probably know what they were.
Yeah.
It's just not something I ever needed to experience.
I've said this for every transition, but here's something that's gonna date us. Date all of us. What was your very first video game console?
Right, what do you mean your very first? Do you mean one that you shared or your personal first?
The very first one you can remember playing that was either a family console or your own personal one, whichever one you remember playing.
I can't remember if it was the SNES, the N64, or the Sega Genesis, but it was one of them 3.
My very first one was the original NES, and that was at my grandmother's house, but I owned a Sega Genesis, and then I didn't own a SNES until later. But like my very first video game console was an NES, and even like at the time, like they were still like they weren't making games for the NES anymore, but they were still making games for, you know, the Sega Genesis and the SNES. But I remember when the N64 came out.
Yeah. For me, when I was born, like, there was already a PS1 like here.
Yeah.
And, you know, it had the required things to do, you know, the happy-go-lucky pirates. Yo-ho, yo-ho, the pirate's life for me.
Yeah.
And then the first console I ever actually owned was a PS2, because that was bought for me one Christmas, and I swear to God, I don't think I've logged in more hours on any of my other consoles put together than I did on that PS2. I had hundreds of games, and legit, I just used to sit all day, whenever I got a free moment, sit and playing games, because I was very much a lone wolf growing up.
As I say, first one that was mine was the Sega Genesis.
Do we count handhelds as consoles?
Yeah, I would count handhelds.
My first personal was a GBA.
Oh, Game Boy Advance?
Yeah.
See, mine was a Game Boy Color. My first handheld was a Game Boy Color.
I had a Game Boy Advance SP, that was my first handheld.
See, so that was like my third handheld. So I had a Game Boy Color, and then I had a Game Boy Advance, and then I had an SP, and then I had a DS at some point.
I went up the Nintendo scale for a while. I went from that, I skipped the standard DS, I got a DS Lite.
Yeah.
Then I got a PSP one year. I think it was the year the Slims came out, so it would have been the year after the original PSP came out.
Yeah, the PSP was my stepbrother's.
So me and my second oldest brother both got a PSP for Christmas one year. That I cannot remember if that was the year they came out or the year after they came out. The Slim didn't exist at the time, so it would have been the year they came out.
Yeah.
But no, my first personal console was the GBA, if we're counting handhelds, and I fucking loved my GBA.
I lied. My very first handheld was the Sega Game Gear. Do either of you know what that is?
I know what it is. I've never used one.
Oh my god, it was...
I've played an emulator for one.
It was a brick. It was a brick of a thing, but it was head and shoulders, graphically above the Game Boy Advance, and it had backlighting, but the batteries died so quickly because of that, which is why the Game Boy Advance which is why the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color were more popular, because the batteries lasted longer.
I was gonna say the Advance had backlight. It had a full color screen.
No, the Advance had a full colored screen. The SP had a backlight.
He's right.
The Advance never had a backlight.
I mean, I did just say the Advance had a full color screen.
Yeah, the Advance had a full color screen. The Game Boy Color had the Game Boy Color didn't have a full color screen, but it had a colored screen.
Because they did a one in between, just before they brought the SP out, they did a one in Japan only called the GBA Lite.
Yeah.
Which was a Game Boy which was a Game Boy Advance with a backlit screen, but they didn't want to bring it out over here because it gave people one less reason to buy an SP, and they were due for release over here.
I remember first seeing the Game Boy Advance, and I thought it looked so futuristic. Honestly, to my feeble little mind, being used to fucking PS1s and the SNES and the N64 and the Sega Genesis, these big fucking bricks that you had to plug into your telly. Seeing this cool as fuck console, handheld console, to me it was future.
It's the future. Yeah, but the Game Gear had backlighting in full color well before the Game Boy did. The problem was it was a big brick of a motherfucker, and the batteries died real quick. Yeah, the batteries died super quick. Yeah, but that was my very first handheld, and because one of my favorite games to play on it was a Power Rangers game. It was a side-scrolling beat 'em up Power Rangers game. I loved the shit out of it. And then my very first console that I owned was a Sega Genesis, and I played all three of the OG Sonic games on it. So Sonic 1, 2, and 3. And then I had 2 different Disney games for it. I had one that was a Mickey Mouse / Donald Duck game, but it was based off of Mickey with the magic hat and shit. I can't remember what it was called. And I had the Lion King game. And you want to talk about a hard motherfucking game. the Lion King game for the Sega Genesis was freaking hard. I never got past the second level.
I need to get a Game Boy Advance.
And then I also had, and then eventually, right before we got the PlayStation, I had a SNES, but it was like the SNES that was like the small version of the SNES.
Yeah.
And for that, I had Spawn, which was fucking badass because I loved Spawn at the time. Because this, this was the mid to late 90s. So Spawn was like super popular at the time. So I had a Spawn game. I had Yoshi's Island, the OG Yoshi's Island game. I had Super Mario Brothers All-Stars, which had a bunch of Super Mario Brothers games on it. God, I can't remember. I had like 2 or 3 more games.
Dude, it's mad what nostalgia glasses do to you. I remember the Game Boy Advance screen being so much more vivid.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the time it was, and
Yeah. I'm gonna say my favourite game for it was Sonic Advance 2.
Yeah.
That was a naughty game.
Just like with the Game Boy Color, the only way to play the Game Boy Advance was either in a well-lit room or if you had the little like book light that you could plug into it.
Yeah. So sit on the surface of the sun, or you is well fucked.
If we're gonna like take handhelds out of the equation as consoles, my first personal console, as sad as it is to admit, was the Nintendo Wii. Like,
that's not sad. I had one too.
No, I'm not saying it's sad
really
because
cool.
of what the console is. I'm saying it's sad because it came out in what, 2006, 2005, 2006. So it took 10 years for me to have a personal, my own console, and then I tried to trade it for a can of Coke.
It's not sad. It's just it is what it is. Like,
No,
Can of Coke and some chicken.
the sad part is I tried to trade it for a can of Coke.
that's I mean fair. Like I didn't have my own PlayStation until the PlayStation 2 came out.
You know,
And then I didn't have my own PlayStation 2 because my PlayStation 2 was a hand me down from my stepbrother because my stepbrother got the Xbox when it came out.
All the consoles up until until like 2006 were like I had to share them with my brothers.
Yeah.
Like the PS1, the Sega Genesis, the SNES, the fucking N64, the PS2, they were all shared with me brothers. And then 2006 comes along, we've got the PS3 coming out, the the Xbox 360, fucking the Nintendo Wii, and my mum was like, right, what I'll do, I don't know what to get you because we've got all these consoles coming out and stuff. So I'm going to give you £300 each, and yous can go and buy your consoles.
Yeah.
So I chose the Nintendo Wii because at the time that looked like the better console to me. My brother chose the 360, and my oldest brother was going to get the PS3, but he ended up just getting himself loads of clothes and games for the PS2.
I mean, fair. I mean, let's face it. When the PS3 came out, there weren't a lot of good games for it anyway, and all the games that were good for PlayStation were on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, he didn't get a PS3 until 2008, so it had been out for like 2 years.
The main reason I got a PS3 was for Metal Gear Solid 4.
Like, games were still coming out on the PS2. All the games that were coming out on the PS3 were still coming out on the PS2, so it's like...
Except for Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah, except that, yeah.
Yeah, the last game released for the PS2 was something like FIFA 14 or something.
FIFA 14. PS2 was officially discontinued in 2014.
2013.
The official death date was 2014. That's when the last support was for the PS2.
Yeah, that'll be when they switched all the servers and that off.
God, remember the PlayStation's like answer to Gears of War, Resistance: Fall of Man?
Yes.
Vaguely.
Legitimately a good game. Like, it was a really good game. It just wasn't popular because the PS3 wasn't popular because it was so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
The other issue was the fact that the biggest thing that drew people to that game was how many people you could play against at once.
Oh yeah, you could play against that shit
And that
ton.
became the biggest issue. It was like 256, I think, at one point.
Yeah.
So,
But the issue was you couldn't get 256 people in a lobby, so the thing it was advertised for never actually happened, and the map wasn't exactly big enough for that, so...
can you remember the fucking Xbox 360 game that was like a tank commander game, and you used your actual microphone to command the tank? Like, you said keywords.
End War.
Yeah, Tom Clancy's M-War.
It was fun as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, my uncle had it.
I got banned from playing it.
What?
Because, for some reason, my child brain could not comprehend that you do not need to scream the house down.
Yeah. No, you just hold in the trigger and then speak into the microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 22 and I still haven't grasped that concept yet.
But
hitting the button harder makes you hit harder, shouting down the microphone louder makes commands better.
my mum's whole thing of the I'll give you £300 use can choose your console was both a smart and dumb idea at the exact same time. Because it was Christmas, right? So none of the stores were open, so we couldn't go immediately to buy one. So that meant we had to wait till the January sales, which makes it smart because you're getting them a hell of a lot cheaper because it's the January sales. Now,
Makes it dumb like you've just gave a kid £300 and he's got to sit on it because kids are impatient.
the dumb part comes that it had just been Christmas. These consoles were brand spanking new and super hyped. The chances of us not getting the console we wanted were astronomically high. I'm
Fair.
for some reason, we beat the odds, we won the fucking lottery or some shit. We should have put the fucking lottery on with the luck we had, but we all got what we wanted.
I mean, to be fair, though, this was at a time when consoles were made fairly abundant. Because you gotta think, like, gaming didn't, gaming started getting a lot more prevalent with the advent of, like, the Xbox 360 and all that, but like gaming beforehand was also seen as only something kids did, but also like they didn't always expect to like sell out. So they made a bunch, yeah, but you know they made it was a different time, Senna. Like now, yeah, after Christmas, consoles sell out immediately because they don't make enough. Like you don't get consoles in abundance until after the holiday that they come out near.
Yeah.
We still don't, like, it's still hard-ish to get a PS5. It's getting a lot better.
I paid, I think it was £200 for my Nintendo Wii, and I got 2 games with it. So I got Trauma Center, genuinely a fucking sick game, so fucking underrated, and Mario Paper?
Yeah, Paper Mario.
Paper Mario, yeah. Yeah, I got them 2 games with it, and then I bought a game, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, because I'm sorry, but if you've got a Nintendo console, you get Legend of Zelda.
I mean, I see, you know, there are people who are Zelda loyalists. I've never been super into Zelda. I've always been more into like the Metroid series.
Yeah.
Gonna say, I think that is the only Nintendo console, the Wii, that I didn't have a Zelda game for.
Twilight Princess was such a good game.
I think I lent that one off my uncle. I lent one of the Zelda games, I just don't remember which one, but I never actually owned one for the Wii.
The problem with Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo Wii, Twilight Princess specifically I'm talking, is it already existed on GameCube. It was a port to the Wii, so people weren't going to go and buy it on the Wii when you know how hardcore Nintendo fans can be. Like, the GameCube is one of the most beloved consoles of all time.
I think the only Legend of Zelda game I played to like at least mid game to was fucking Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
You actual fucking poser.
It's not being a poser. I just didn't like Legend of Zelda.
I'm joking.
My personal favorite was Majora's Mask.
Was Skyward Sword the other one that came out on the Wii? I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah,
Think
Skyward
so?
Sword. I think it came out on the Wii or the Wii U. It's been a while.
Twilight
So-
Princess was fun. Turning into a fucking wolf and Migna. Oh my god, Migna is love her. Best character.
Fucking
My personal favorite was Majora's Mask.
Ocarina of Time.
Another good one, to be fair.
You know what my favorite port to the Wii was?
What?
Fucking oh god, now I can't remember the fucking name of the game.
See,
The one with the wolf. The wolf named Amaterasu. Okami. The port from the PS2 version of Okami to the Wii version of Okami, because the painting element of it was better with the motion controls.
see, when I got my Nintendo Wii, I didn't want Paper Mario. I wanted Trauma Center and Resident Evil. Resident Evil was rated 18, and the first time ever Granger Games has not sold a rated 18 to a child was then.
Yeah. They were really bad for that.
Literally, I wanted Resident Evil so fucking bad, and the point blank fucking refused. And the only other game I could choose really was Paper Mario.
Yeah.
And
My personal favorite game on the Wii was, I think it was called No More Heroes.
Oh yeah, I remember No More Heroes.
honestly,
Like, legit to this day, when I go to the bathroom, I still refer to it as Save Me Game. Because that's how you save the game in there. You used to go to the toilet.
yeah. I'm not speaking cap at all. One of my favorite games on the Nintendo Wii of all time is Trauma Center. That game is so fucking underrated. It's Surgeon Simulator before Surgeon Simulator. People forget it existed.
I didn't even know it existed.
Google it sometime. Such a fucking good game.
I'll have to, because it sounds pretty good.
So again, I don't know how familiar Swifty is going to be with this. I mean, you might be because you had like a PlayStation 1. But Senna, do you remember when cheat codes were actually like fun and relevant?
Yep. And you would buy the big massive book filled with all the cheat codes.
Yeah. You could buy, you know, there were cheat codes for specific games and like gaming magazines and the
Yeah.
strategy guides.
I remember the strategy guys and the gaming mags also. Because I used to get the Xbox mag and the PlayStation.
Yeah. Do you guys remember the very first game you used cheat codes on?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
Obviously the most popular is the Konami code.
Well, yeah, but I mean like the one that you played.
Alright.
I think it was probably GTA 2.
I played Contra, but I never used the Konami code on Contra.
For me, the first game I used cheat codes on would either be Thug or GTA San An, maybe. I'm trying to think.
I'm sure mine was GTA 2.
Was
very first. Sorry.
was it Liberty City? Might have been Liberty City.
Liberty City was the first GTA game I used cheat codes on. The very first game I ever used cheat code on was the Spider-Man for the PlayStation 1. And the cheat code was it was Stan Lee spelled backwards, and it unlocked all the costumes for Spider-Man.
I can remember what game I used the most cheat codes on.
Oh, a game I used the most cheat codes on was Grand Theft Auto 2
So
or Grand Theft Auto Liberty City.
this,
Yeah, mine was 3 for that one.
I completed this game completely, legitimately, and then obviously, you know, when you complete a game legitimately, you want to fuck about on it. Force Unleashed.
I remember Force Unleashed.
Such a fucking good game. I genuinely might get a PS2 emulator just so I can play Force Unleashed.
I never used cheat codes on Force Unleashed.
Black lightsaber, fucking infinite force,
I love the
and
black
everything.
lightsaber.
Honestly, it's the game I use the most cheat codes on because it makes it so fucking fun. You could literally have whatever color lightsaber you wanted.
I mean, I think I didn't need to use the cheat code because I got the like deluxe edition of the game, like the complete edition of the game when it came out. Or no, that was Force Unleashed 2.
I'm not even joking about this. I might genuinely get like a PS2 emulator just so I can play Force Unleashed. I love that game so fucking much. Honestly, one of the top Star Wars games.
Oh shit, I just remembered one of the other games I had for the SNES, and it was a fighting game, funnily enough, because we haven't established that I've loved fighting games forever. It was Samurai Showdown 2 for the SNES.
Damn.
Still, I want to make this very abundantly clear. The best Star Wars game, Lego Star Wars.
Yeah,
Yes.
Lego Star Wars was...
Nobody can argue that. The best Star Wars game is Lego Star Wars. The complete...
Yeah, I played that for ages on PS2. But I completed it on PS2 multiple times.
I think it was DS I played it on.
I think we had it for the 360.
It's what I love about the Lego games as well. They come out on everything.
Yep.
So you don't feel left out.
One of my favourite memories of that one still had to be when I found out you could do like the silly blasters and shit. Now, being a child that couldn't read or speak very properly, I always used to call them silly bastards. So I was like, Ma, are we going to play with silly bastards? And she's like, yeah, but don't call them that.
What was the first Lego game to come out? Was it Star Wars or...
It was Lego Star Wars.
It was Star Wars.
Yeah, and then they moved into like Indiana Jones and that.
Yeah, Indiana Jones, Batman, Pirates of the Caribbean, Harry Potter. Lego Harry Potter fucking slaps though.
That's when the Lego games started getting really popular, was after Lego Star Wars.
I like the actual Harry Potter games as well, though. Like the actual Harry Potter games for the PS2.
Isn't there a new Harry Potter game coming out?
I don't know. I know they were going to do one, like, sort of, where it's like almost like VR-y sort of deal. So it's like first person. But I don't know if that's still a thing.
Yeah, Hogwarts Legacy.
So we've been going for a while, so I think it might be time to start wrapping stuff up.
So what have we established?
I'm fucking old.
Same.
You like fighting games, you're old. I know all the stuff that you are talking about, whether I've used it or played it or owned it or not.
But you didn't experience all of it. That was the point.
I experienced a good majority.
So the generation gap isn't too far. I think when it comes to like the technology though, the generation gap is still a little bit there. It's just to what extent we all grew up with the technology. Senna and I grew up as the technology was shiny and new, and you started growing up like when it was like already established.
Right, before we close this off, can I say I've remembered what my Nokia phone was?
What?
The 6320.
There we go.
They did it.
Hang on. I want to see what this one is.
Our them boy did it. Yay. Well, while Swifty's doing that.
I remember that one. I had one of them for a bit.
Wasn't a bad little phone.
All right. So thank you everybody for listening to Boston Tea Party. Again, I am VintrBjorn, or Bjorn for short. You can find me on YouTube at VintrBjorn. I'm starting a series where I just do fun little stories in my little virtual tavern. It's a good time. You can also find me on Twitter at Odin's Raven 21, or just look up VintrBjorn. I'm sure you'll find me. Cinnamon, where can they find you, and what do you do on the internet?
Instagram, Cinnabunzum. I just post shit. Twitch, sometimes I stream at Cinnabunzum again. I do have Twitter, but I don't really fucking use it, so don't bother with that.
And good luck. And Swifty, what are you up to, and where can everybody find you?
I'll be creating probably more gaming content and hopefully releasing some tracks soon, so you can find me and all my works over on littleswifty_official on Instagram and Swifty TV on YouTube.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and have a fantastic night.